now have an update on the investigation into the murder of 24-year-old Harshita Brella from Corby. Firstly, on behalf of Northamptonshire Police, I would like to express my deepest and heartfelt condolences to Harshita's friends and family, and to everyone that knew and loved her. Harshita was a young woman in her early 20s. She had a whole life ahead of her and everything to live for, and it is absolutely tragic that her life has been cut short in this way. A murder investigation was launched after the body of a woman, who we have now named as Harshita, was found in a car in East London. This finding came about after we received a call on Wednesday, November the 13th, regarding concerns for Harshita's welfare. Officers were deployed to her home address in Skegness Walk, and after getting no answer, a missing person investigation was launched. Fast-track inquiries were made, which sadly led to the discovery of a woman's body inside the boot of a vehicle on Brisbane Road in the Ilford area of London in the early hours of Thursday, November the 14th. A forensic post-mortem examination, which took place at Leicester Royal Infirmary on Friday, November the 15th, established that Harshita had been murdered. Officers and detectives from the East Midlands Special Operations Major Crime Unit and Northamptonshire Police, working alongside colleagues from the Metropolitan Police, have been working around the clock to establish the circumstances behind Harshita's death, including the location and time frame in which it took place. We've followed a number of lines of investigation and carried out numerous inquiries, and we're now able to provide a further update. Our inquiries lead us to suspect that Harshita was murdered in Northamptonshire earlier this month by her husband, Pankaj Lamba. We suspect he transported Harshita's body from Northamptonshire to Ilford by car. We now believe he has fled the country, and we are releasing an image of Pankaj Lamba with this statement. More than 60 detectives are working on the case and are continuing to follow numerous lines of inquiry, including house-to-house, property searches, CCTV, and ANPR. We're, of course, continuing to appeal for any information that will help us piece together exactly what happened as we work to get justice for Harshita. I urge anyone listening to or reading this statement that if you saw anything suspicious in the past week or have any information, no matter how small, please contact us. We would always rather receive well-meaning information that turns out to be nothing, as opposed to not receiving it at all. Whilst we are satisfied there is no wider risk to the public, we understand how shocking and distressing such an incident can be for the local community. Our neighbourhood officers will continue to provide additional patrols in Corby in the coming days for reassurance, and anyone with any concerns is welcome to approach the officers who will be happy to help. Anyone who has any information that could help detectives bring Harshita's killer to justice can contact the incident room by calling 101, quoting Operation Westcott. Alternatively, information can be submitted via our online public portal at www.mipp.police.uk, or please feel free to call Crime Stoppers in confidence on 0800 555 111. Thank you for support and assistance in helping us bring Harshita's killer to justice, and we'll provide further updates when we can.
Hi guys, so as you heard, this is the case of Harshita Brella, and her husband is believed to be the suspect in the case as her murderer. Now, they believe that she had actually died earlier in November, and her body was found in the early hours of Thursday morning. Now, why is this not working? Why is my mouse not doing mouse things? That's weird. My mouse is not working great. Is it because my thing's doing too many things at once? I think maybe, let me just stop that for a sec and then reopen up. Okay, so well, that's a new update. We'll have a look at that in a minute. So there's been bits of information that has been coming through bit by bit. And as we've been coming through, we've been learning about the accommodation that Harshita was living in and the fact that there was actually a protective order for her. So there had been a history of domestic violence, which the police have, like in the cases that we are finding ourselves in a case like this, they will be referring themselves to the IOPC for investigation because of the previous contact that they have had. Now, as the title of the thumbnail said, an international manhunt has been launched because they now believe that the suspect, which is Pankaj Lamba, has now fled from the UK. Now, she is originally from Northampton in Corby, and he drove the car, or is alleged to have driven the car with her body in the boot, which is about 95.7 miles away from where she, where she's come from. Now, as you can see in here, this is what he looks like, and he does kind of look like he has more hair in this picture. I'm not gonna lie. How are we all doing there in the comments? Oh, you can't see it, can you, bugger? God's sake. Okay, we get there. Right, let's just open this up again. So in the picture that's been released of him recently, to the left here in the coat, he's got a rucksack on. He looks like he's got more hair than he has in this photo here, but this is the picture that they've kind of put out. Now, they've obviously got a history between the pair of them. I know. I'll get there. It's because I came off the screen. So he kind of does look a little bit different in this picture. And obviously in this picture, he's heading off to wherever he is heading off to. So police had initially responded to calls because they were concerned about Harshita and where Harshita was, because there was no answer at her home, and her home is based in Skegness Walk, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. Let me see if I can pull up the old Googly Maps. Not Google Maps, Google's Earth. And when you look at it, you'd be wondering, you'd be like, right, to be thinking, well, why did nobody kind of see anything? So what was it called? It was called Skegness Walk. Okay, let me just pull up Skegness Walk for us, and then I'll change the screen. I think it's been well researched as well. So let's just switch the screens 1 second. And then we go to share screen. It's really fidgety. So this is the area that we're looking at. So as you can see here, now I'm thinking that I'm not sure which one of these houses that it is. I know that there is a white door. Let me see if we can see it. Hang on. Let's go 3D. Right, let's spin it. Let's spin a block on that. So it's going to be one of the houses here. Now, As you can see, it's a bit like a horseshoe, and you can't actually. So when you go to do the walk in here, you can't actually. There's not actually a bit that takes you in there by foot. So you would come onto this road here, and then you would have to access the housing either via like this area where cars are parked and come through here. Although I think it's I don't know how easy that would be. But if I spin a little block on that as well, is it this one? So is it pointing? This is a garden, but if you look at the police pictures, they actually have to walk underneath here. But their layout is odd. You've got car parking here, so whatever's gone on, either way, there's people out the back, there's people out the front. And so you would have expected somebody to have seen something. So these are numbered. What is the number on their house? I want it to... I want to spin it around, but I don't know how. I don't know how. Why don't I can do more on my iPad because I can use my fingers. I wanted to have a look at number 25 and number 27. And then you've got these here. So either way, my point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of the access is up alleyways. There's neighbours in the front, there's neighbours in the back, and the only way you would probably not be seen is probably around the point where the cars are, because they're to the side of the houses. You might be seen from these houses here, but these cars, I think when I looked at them from the road, there's nothing there and there's no window there. Now let's walk, because they were looking at Skegness let's go down the end of this road. So on one of these turn-ins, you can't quite see, they've blocked it out, they've like blurred it. So again, here you've got one of those car parking situations going on. Can't really see much apart from Northamptonshire County Council. Wonder how much they get for it. So this is the one where they've blurred out this bit. I don't know why. And this comes to a dead end. So this wasn't the end that I wanted. It was the other end that I wanted. It's really weird to me that that woman's there. It's just there, having a day, having a moment. They look to be like bathroom windows out there, out the back there. So Surfleet. Some random child. So I'm going to say this is the entrance into that area. So Surfleet Close, which leads to Skegness and Sturton Walk. So to access those, you've got to come up this road anyway. So it's kind of a bit like, if you're facing the house, you could probably see something, but once they've kind of left the house, maybe not so much. I know, yeah, the tree's massive, but like, because of where they're kind of tucked in, let me just change that back to how that looks above. Just so we make sure we've got the... So you can see what that looks like. Oh, you mean that's the big tree? So yeah, there's that big tree, but you've got accommodation here, you've got accommodation here. I'm not sure which one it is that's the property, but I think police have perhaps walked through this way. And then there's the under arch that brings you through into this way. Or is it that way? Oh, it's actually that way. But that under arch takes you through another under arch, through another under arch. So you've kind of, they're really like kind of tucked out of the way, aren't they? But yeah, I mean, I imagine you can probably hear in whatever, everything. So if you wanted to leave through the back way, you've got housing here. If you wanted to leave through the front way, yeah, you've got the tree there, but you've got accommodation there, and then you've got the parking. I can't imagine that it's easy to leave with a body on show, but there's nothing to say that if she had died in the home, that he didn't transport her out in a suitcase. There's always that option, isn't there? Dang it, dang it. No, I don't want to invite anyone up. Let's go back to this. So, obviously, because of that phone call, because they couldn't get hold of her, police then prompted a search for her. They fast-tracked it. And some of that will be because of the previous protective order that she had in place. Now, that was a 28-day protective order, and some people don't know that then they need to renew it. And if there is any language barriers, which I don't know if there is, but there could well be some misunderstanding, which meant she thought that the PO was for, you know, for the duration. But the search was launched, and the hunt for her, because it became a missing persons, led to a car found in Ilford in East London. And that's where they discovered Harshita's body, and she had been put into the boot. Now, they transferred her off to Leicester Royal Infirmary, and that's when they carried out the PM, and that's when she had been declared as having been murdered. Now, like I said before, the IOPC will have a referral because of the previous contact with them. So there's obviously a history of domestic abuse there. And they haven't released a lot of information on this case. They didn't even really release that much when they first made it public. They initially just said that a body had been found in the boot of a car. They believe to have been transferred from Corby to Ilford, and that there wasn't any danger to the wider public. Well, you know, if someone's unalive someone, whether anyone else was the target, well, they were just the target. You know, they've got the capability, and if you get in their way and you know, they want to escape, I disagree that they couldn't be a danger to the public. So the chief inspector that we just saw at the very beginning gave us the information. They suspect he transported her body from Northampton to Ilford in the car, and now they believe that he has now left the country. How long ago that is, we don't know. Where he's gone, I'm pretty sure I've seen articles saying he's possibly headed off to India. So it says here that Harshita, was previously the victim of domestic violence and just 2 months ago was made subject of a DV protective order at Northampton Magistrates Court. He looks a bit evil in the eye, I'm not going to lie. Now, obviously, they are looking for anyone that can assist them. Even though he may have fled the country, obviously they want to piece together what has happened to Harshita. We don't know much about her. This is a new article. This is something new. So I want justice for my daughter, says the family of the murder victim, Harshita Brella. The mother of the woman who police say was murdered before her body was left in the car boot in East London. So she just wants justice for her daughter. Her mum, Sudesh Kumari, spoke through the tears. So her mum is in Delhi. Her father, Satya Brella, added, I want my son-in-law to be brought to justice and I want my daughter's body brought home. It was an arranged marriage. So when I was on my TikTok earlier, we weren't sure. It says here she had an arranged marriage. So are we heading down the honour killing scenario here? Yeah, I think that they've got positive information too, Karen. Are we going down now? We've had this bit of information, because the BBC have spoken to her mum, that this is an arranged marriage, and obviously, if there's been violence in the relationship, and they'd separated, and obviously, if there's a protective order, this could not be a good look for him in their marriage or his family. So it says that she was very excited to move to the UK in April. So that makes me think, although she can speak English, is there any language barrier which makes her not realise that the protective order had expired, that it was only temporary for 28 days? That must be her sister. Her mum looks quite young, doesn't she? Her father describes his daughter as simple and studious. He said she wanted to be a teacher and would spend her days tutoring children in their home in Delhi before turning to her own studies. The family said they'd last spoken to Miss Brella on the 10th of November. She told them that she had made dinner and was waiting for Mr. Lamba to come home. So they must have got back together. Okay. That is the case with DV victims often as well. The PO obviously expired and at some point they've come back together. Ms. Daba said her sister's phone was off for the next 2 days, and by the 13th they thought something was wrong and asked people they knew to file a complaint. Northamptonshire Police said it was contacted on Wednesday regarding concerns, and that's what led them to the discovery of her body. So I wonder if her family knew. Miss Stabas explained that her sister and Lamba had entered into an arranged marriage with a legal wedding held in August 2023. The couple then had their traditional Indian ceremony on the 22nd of March this year before they left for the UK on the 30th of April. So she hadn't even been here that long. Mr. Lamba was a student in London. She said and her sister had been working in a warehouse. Ms. Dabas said her sister didn't live a happy life in London. She struggled a lot because of her husband. At the end of August, Miss Brella phoned her father in India to say she had run away. Now, that's not ever going to be good for the husband and the husband's family. She said he was hitting her and she escaped. She ran out on the streets and he chased after her and he hit her there as well. There was a local who saw this and asked what happened, which is why he left Harshita, which is why he left her. Harshita called someone she knew to come pick her up. The Northamptonshire Telegraph reported that she was the subject of domestic violence protective order, and it was made in early September and it lasted just 28 days. Oh. Police have since confirmed the order had been in place before Miss Brella's death. The police said it's made a mandatory referral to the IOPC because there was previous conduct. The thing is, they'll probably say that the PO was obviously put in place, previous investigations were investigated, and it's expired, and she'd obviously gone back to him if she was at home making him dinner. So she'd obviously ran away from him before, which, if there's a hint of that again, maybe it was his way to stop her. Hi, Elaine. It's really sad. It's really sad to read from her sister and her mum. Neighbours said that the woman sounded scared in Rao days before Harshita was found dead in Corby. So had heard two men arguing on a different day. The neighbour also heard two men arguing on a different day shortly before Miss Brella's body was discovered. The neighbour of Harshita Brella has revealed that she had two blistering rows, one involving a woman who sounded scared in the days before the 24-year-old was found in London. And then she heard an argument between a man and woman on Wednesday. So I wonder how long he's had to flee. They were arguing in a different language, so they couldn't understand what was being said, but it sounded angry and they were raised voices and the woman sounded scared. I heard the commotion between the man and woman and I heard banging around. I didn't call the police. I just thought it was a relationship argument. And again, there's that whole thing, if you see something, you got to say something. Don't hold on to it. I always think if the woman sounds scared as well and there's a lot of banging, it's always worth just calling, especially if there's been a history of DV. This woman was left feeling vulnerable and on edge after learning about the fate of her neighbour. And obviously for a community to have that happen, that's got to be hard, hasn't it? Miss Phillip said that she also heard two men arguing in a foreign language early on Saturday, shortly after she heard the back gate slam shut. Well, that's interesting. I mean, this could go down many avenues, can't it? So we're going to have to wait for the information. Chief Inspector Paul Cash told press conference in Kettering that inquiries led us to the suspect. Harshita was murdered in Northampton earlier this month by her husband, Pankaj, and we suspect he transported her. We now believe he's fled the country. So again, we were saying on my TikTok earlier that, depending on when he fled the country and how long he's had, obviously if he's got to where he's going, then you know, hang on. Whether or not they're going to be able to capture him on the other side. So this is a video of their wedding. I wanted to show it. I'll show it briefly on my TikTok earlier. Sad. I know what I'm needing, and I don't want to waste more time. Oh, stop it. I just think that's really sad. So just to think, like, obviously with these arranged marriages and stuff, you obviously don't know who you're marrying and what their capabilities are, and obviously we know what this guy's capabilities are. So he's 23, she is 24. They had a Hindu ceremony in northern India, and they performed all the traditional rituals. I mean, look at her. Why is this doing this to me? Why is it doing this to me? So let's go in the photo gallery. So that's him during their wedding ceremony. I think that's her mom. And that's her looking amazing. Look at her, absolutely stunning.
Well, we've noticed, so last week we noticed the police car just stood parked over here, and we were a bit curious on why the police car was there every day. So I think my girlfriend's dad actually asked the police officer, and he said something to do with domestic or something, but we didn't know what it was. We thought it was a house further down the street. We didn't realise it was 2 doors down. And then yesterday, that's when we've seen a lot of activity. So we've seen a big police van parked over here. We've seen police officers walking up and down. We've seen it looked like a forensic team or something in white gear walking past this window. I was in the kitchen, could see them walking past the window, and then loads of men with cameras pointing down this way. So naturally, I'm a bit more curious. And we've actually looked up. You could see online that this young girl was murdered. And obviously, naturally, you're a bit worried because you don't know what's happened. You don't know why it's happened. And obviously, I've got 2 young kids in here as well. So I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I'm a bit worried now. So yeah, it was a bit, just a bit of a shock at the end of the day. Yeah, obviously uncomfortable. Yeah, because as I say, I didn't realise it was so close as well, 2 doors down. So just to know that someone's been murdered potentially in that house so close to us, yeah, it's worrying. I mean, I keep the door locked now all times just in case. I don't want to, because I work back shift 2 to 10, Monday to Friday. So
don't put that out online, dude.
I'm really worried what's going on at home because my girlfriend, bless her, she can't really do much if someone comes in the house.
Don't underestimate the power of the mother. I know what I'm needing. Don't underestimate the strength of a mother, by the way. Yeah, I in a lot of cases, they don't really know, do they? No, me neither, Elaine. I don't think they can. And she does look so young, doesn't she? But yeah, dude, don't put your work schedule on the line, because you've just literally announced where you live. So that's the forensic team. That's that alleyway that I was talking about. To be honest, it looks quite run down. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if it's because of where it is and like like I just, kind of like where the area probably doesn't get a lot of sunlight, so that when the floor's wet, it's wet and takes ages, and the floor's quite dark and black in quite places, and some of the buildings look a bit not well kept. So that is obviously from Corby in Northamptonshire down to Ilford, which you can see is about 95 miles away. A whole bunch of stuff coming in. Can't see the door number, but it's obviously the first house to the left or the right, depending on which way you're coming up that alleyway in that courtyard. This is where her body was found. So this is Brisbane Road in Ilford. Obviously, I'm thinking that the car might be underneath that tent. And I think there's a park behind that fence, but they've obviously cordoned that whole area off. And obviously, the people that must live there must be like, oh my God, like what the fuck's happening here? And probably like walk past that car several times. Again, that's the front of the house. Now, this house was also known to hold multiple occupants. Don't know if that's still the case. Don't know what occupants are in there, if they're in there. But that's weird to me. Do you see those handprints on the wall? What the hell? That's weird. That's a bit freaky. Handprints on the wall. Obviously, because you can't get to the property easy, so you can't park outside your property, obviously the police have to park down the road. And then this is a police officer stood here. So I don't know. I don't think it's either it must be the back, maybe. Either that or they're stopping people. But he stood there with his hands freezing. I wonder if it's the back end of the properties. And that's that alleyway again. That's Brisbane Drive Road. And then that's Emerson Road, and that's where the park. So that must come crossover with Brisbane Road, maybe on the other side. So the nearest airport you've got here, I'm going to assume that's the City of London Airport over here. But City of Airport doesn't go direct to India. So you have to assume that because there's a direct train from Ilford, apparently, that he probably got a direct train through to Heathrow. Heathrow or Gatwick is where you're going for a long haul flight. And that's just highlighting where her road is. Yeah, that's her sister. And that's him. And that's one of the last photos I believe they must have of him, but he looks slightly different there to me. Like I said, he's got more hair. Go back. Yeah, I mean, they're both really young to move over this far, to the UK. It's a long way to go, isn't it? And her family are back in India, so she is properly isolated here, although she did have a job working at a warehouse. So she did have people that she could reach out to, but still it's quite isolating for her. It's just a horrible, horrible case, and we don't know how long he's had. I mean, if he'd literally took off and got a flight as the police have kind of realised that he's left the country, there's a good chance you'd be able to get him and pick him, you know, from on the other side to wherever it is he's headed off. But if he's had several days to escape, then he'll be wherever he was going, and he's going to be really hard to track. But that's where I'm going to guess Interpol is going to come into it. And obviously, for now, the information that we'll be getting will just be coming bit by bit as it comes through. Now, they have said they have opened an inquest, and obviously that's normal. And I guess at some point we'll find out the manner of death, and the potential how long she was deceased for. Now, the problem is, obviously, we're now in November and it's been quite cold, so that is a good condition for a body to be left outside in. However, decomp will still occur, and you would have thought that there would have been some sort of smell, but they must have been able to track him from his car from Corby right through to Ilford once they were on to the fact that she was dead. They've got the car, they've heard this, they've heard that, they've investigated that, and they've probably followed the car to where it's took them. Because I would imagine if it had been parked illegally or outside someone's drive or door, someone would have notified the police a lot sooner, and that doesn't seem to have occurred. They seem to have known that he left from Northampton, and that's where they've ended up. Now, hopefully, I mean, they've probably followed him from where he's left the car, because obviously, you know, you're talking sort of near London into, you know, it's going to be busy. There's going to be CCTV cameras everywhere. So they will have been able to attract him, and they've probably tracked him to an airport and getting through the airport. But for now, I guess for the inquest and the inquiry, as the investigation goes on, they're going to want to speak to anyone that might be able to assist them, that may have heard something, that may have seen something, that might remember something with him being on the road, if he went to a petrol station or a garage or anything like that, to pull the jigsaw together and to find out what happened and to assist in, you know, getting justice for Harshita. Obviously, her family are in India, and she's, you know, she was here alone, and is here alone. So we just have to hope that they are able to trace him and have him transported back here to the UK to bring him to justice. But there is a manhunt underway, so we are going to follow this case. Now the inquest is open. Family, mum, sister have started to give us a bit of a picture of what's gone on. So it is definitely an arranged marriage. We didn't know that an hour ago. So we now know that that is also a scenario here as well. And like I said, you know, if things weren't going well and she was going to leave him, you know, they say in domestic violence situations, leaving is the most dangerous thing, and the most dangerous time. And maybe she was going to leave him, and that ended up being a situation that, you know, his family and he couldn't have because of the shame that that could bring. We also spoke about that. So as I get more information and more updates on this, I will, of course, keep you guys posted. We'll keep on top of it over on my TikTok. But I will come back with more updates if we have them, to, you know, sort of be able to do a video on here. But otherwise, mostly I will be topping up each day on my TikTok just to say, hey, this has now come out, this has come out, and more of a discussion going on over there, but I just wanted to bring it over here. So if anybody is from that area, in that area, been through Heathrow, been through Gatwick, been through anywhere sort of within this area, or you may have seen something, know something, or pictures trigger a memory of the couple or him, and you might have information, you know, always say no matter how big or small, even if it's small, it could be the bit of the jigsaw puzzle that helps bring this case together and get justice for Harshita, and her mum and sister and father. That will be it from me on this today. Do stay safe, and I will see you guys over on my TikTok a bit later this evening. So I will speak to you guys very, very soon. Bye, guys.